Good morning, everyone. It's 9:30 and it's Tuesday, November 18th, and the recording's going, even though this is just our work session. That's the way it rolls. I've asked Jason to come in. He'd been talking about coming in anyway to talk about some things with the extension. And so he very graciously, when I called him yesterday, said, hey, can you? Well, I knew we didn't have anybody scheduled. And we were talking about that. Yesterday, I went down to the Wyandotte County Commissioners meeting, and it was just kind of a matter of a lot going on. I meant to mention that prior that I was going, but the reason I went is I've been exploring what we've been doing with OSU Extension here in Seneca County. And we've all met Jason as the new 4-H educator that we have, or what the formal title is he youth educator? 4-H?
4-H.
4-H, okay. You know, Ann had retired out. Kathy Brewer has been the interim county chair for us, as coming out of Ottawa County, et cetera. And, you know, I'm just wondering, would it be nice if, and I've heard from lots of people, if we could restore to have another agent, which then would be on our backs financially to do. First agent comes from the state, and then half of the second needs to come from us, not the full thing. And so in thinking through that, hearing various comments, I've done some research and asking people over the last year and a half, when the topic comes up about this, and you get mixed reviews on that. And then I actually had talked to 2 different Wyandotte County commissioners independently and said, if we get looking at this, and thought the only way we could do it is if we did a shared agent, because there's a lot of that goes on across the region. And the only likely person at this point in the setup is to share with really is Wyandotte County, but it is a good, very similar. They're smaller, but very similar in our makeup of our counties, because the others already have an agent already in a share situation with another county, et cetera. So they said, yeah, if you explore that, we'd be more than happy to do that with you and to look at it further. There was some personnel changes in the regional aspect of extension, and the Northwest Regional Director switched, I think probably 2 months ago, maybe 3. I don't know. Cindy Torpa is the new person.
She was hired. That's probably been longer. I'd say 4 months, 4 or 5 months. Okay. Yeah.
So when she was on board, I worked with Gwen Wilford, who is with CCAO as the extension liaison with the university and the Commissioners Association. And so we've been talking over time as well, and just trying to figure out. I said, I can be a very strong loyalist and say, we ought to do this. But that doesn't explain it to anybody else or everybody else. We gotta have a need. I can be the loyalist because I have a background in extension, because I know a lot of people in extension, because I know whatever they do is good stuff, but that doesn't mean that it addresses needs. And we gotta weigh out all this stuff when we're doing budgets, and every nickel and dime needs to be spent very wisely. And so we've gotta figure that out against our mandated things, and this is being unmandated. So with that, I will not take credit for putting this together, because Cindy did. But Cindy Torpa, who is the Northwest Regional Director, and it's a description of how a needs assessment could be done. And that's where we would need to start, is to do this focus groups, do some needs assessments to determine what does the makeup of Seneca County and Wyandotte County, what are they interested in? Some people are going to say, we haven't had an agent, we're getting by, that's good. Others going to say, but there's so many new things happening that could be done. Maybe there's a new niche out there that would be able to be filled, that would be very beneficial on an economic front, economic development front, on just an education front, additional support for a very strong youth program, whatever it might be. So I asked Jason if he wanted to come, because I wanted to share this, because I got on their calendar and I think I just forgot to bring it up last Thursday, and I was going down there. So I gave this to them yesterday. We just informally discussed it. Right now, their extension is linked with economic development. They have a public-private type partnership with a person. So they've got some, like SIDEC has some private monies coming in. They give some money, some of the villages, etc. And that's kind of, so theirs is definitely linked with economic development right now, which I think is pretty cool, and might benefit. Like I said, if they have that person, we had another shared person. I don't know, I just think there's lots of ways, but we will not know until we know for sure what the needs are. And that's what this would do over the course of the beginning of 2015. would start the process of them reaching out to some established groups, then maybe some groups to be called together, established groups such as Farm Bureau, producer groups, some of the business groups, and then even the community groups, which I liked that aspect she tied into this, was to not just think about the agricultural audiences that are out there, but let's talk about, your Rotaries and your Kiwanis and your community foundations and different groups like that you also can gather information from. So this is what she outlined in looking at doing that. I think it makes sense. It's Extension running the needs assessment.
Yes.
It's not us, but as I said, is there a possibility of ever getting to restore an agent? I said, as soon as I know what the need is. Otherwise, I can't support it as much as I could. Like I said, I can play the loyalty card, but we need to know more than that. So with that, I thought maybe Jason would want to be here to reflect on just things going on from our extension office. And then as well, he's well aware of this background of what Cindy has put together.
Yeah. Sure, I can. I brought our last year's annual report from Extension. I didn't know if our new commissioner-elect would need something like that eventually. And then I've got our county highlights from 2013 and just some highlights that have been happening here for 2014 and some things. I can look over that. Extension as a whole, with our budget, I touched base with Kathy yesterday. We're going to maintain level funding. We're not going to seek anything more out. With both Erin and myself being relatively new, mostly on Erin's end, because the county shares the cost of her. She obviously is not as high up the pay scale as what Cindy was,
Right.
being new. So we are saving a little bit of money there in terms of payroll. With some of that savings, I have been going through and kind of updating the office some in terms of equipment, some furniture, and general things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we'll have the budget in as soon as Kathy gets it finished up. She will be stepping aside in terms of the county director spot come January 1st.
Okay, so you'll be
Yes, I
trained
will
and
be.
you'll be there.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll be trained
great. That's good.
and that. So we'll have our own county director, me being the only one. So wasn't much of a competition there.
Yeah. But you've been through all the training to do all that.
Yeah, exactly. Once I get through all the training and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Just a couple more thoughts that I've got in terms of an ag agent, educator, whatever you want to call them nowadays. We've had a lot of questions and people coming in. Granted, we already have a very strong Master Gardener group. They are just strictly volunteers though. And they are not able to do some of the programming that the university wants to see educator like myself or somebody in that ag spot do and conduct and things like that. So that would be one advantage to bring in an ag educator, is that they would be able to conduct more programming and be able to answer more of the questions that the Master Gardener volunteers cannot, just simply because of their volunteer type status. We've had lots of people come in over the summer and questions. Not necessarily, it doesn't affect us directly as much as it did Lucas County with the whole water quality issues, but there is still some of that trickle down type effect. And we do share that Lake Erie Basin type region. So there were some opportunities if we'd had somebody to attend some meetings and some trainings and things like that we could have had some input into. Another issue that has been very key with our local producers is the new House law or state law for fertilizer application. Anybody over 50 acres now is going to be applying some sort of a manure management, fertilizer type. They need to get certified in that. So there's been lots of questions asked and raised. How do we get certified? Over some classes. Again, if we have somebody like that locally, then we can offer local classes here, as opposed to having to say, well, no, sorry, we don't have anything like that, but I can send you to Findlay, or I can send you to Fremont, or I can send you someplace else, you know, which is all well and fine, but I think local people would like to stay local. So that'd be another positive to having somebody in that position. And then here, as we turn into the fall into winter, there's been some questions in terms of land rental, building rental. You know, farmers and producers looking to get, you know, either acquire more land or find some building space to store their machinery. And then, you know, people are just local landowners are coming in and wondering, you know, looking to, you know, renegotiate the price of their rental contract with the farmer. And, you know, what's the going rate, what are some things they have to keep in mind, things like that. You know, those are all type questions that a person with more of an ag background than myself would be able to better answer. All I can simply do now is, you know, try and reassure them that I will find the answer, and we look through some of our files. I'll put a phone call into somebody else, and then, you know, try and get that person, you know, some answers to the questions and things. So
That Ask an Expert page is really, I know some people have used that, seems to be very helpful to the
Yes.
ag community. That
Yes,
you can
there is.
Type in what is this weed, and send a picture of it. And
send a picture of it. Yeah, that is a part of the university program, the extension thing. That is staffed by experts in certain areas. The one drawback to that is, though, it usually takes 1 to 2 days, sometimes longer, for somebody to get that, you know, answer back to you.
Yeah.
So if it is something that you're looking to deal with right away, you know, that's not always the best case situation, but it is another resource that people can use. So.
And in some of the, you know, outreach that I have done in the past year included talking with the folks at Manel Milling, Ag Credit, some producers, some local seed dealers, et cetera, that, you know, people say, well, we can get some of this information from industry, but even some of them are saying, but to have that unbiased research-based
Yes.
information is key.
Yes,
You know, the
correct.
ag agent I call up or walks in, you know, my barn or whatever is not trying to sell me anything.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna find some trial information, and you know, I'm not saying that all the sellers out there aren't gonna,
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
just share
exactly.
their things too, but it's just kind of that. And then with the changes with the new farm bill, the fertilizer thing,
Mm-hmm.
our CAUV it changes. There's a lot of things I could point to thinking, wow, that would have been a source, but it takes, again, having the right person, and then the other things they're gonna do when those things aren't going on, and whatever we need. Do we need a specialist in livestock, or do we need a specialist with vegetable crops? Do we need a specialist in corn? Or what is it that we need? So there's all of that to get figured out.
Figured out,
But I
yes.
know Manel Melling, and this example, just I've shared it more than once, was pretty neat when I talked with them, was they said one year there was a wet wheat year, but we don't raise a lot of wheat, so I don't, but, and they said, you know, we needed to very quickly educate producers about some things, because normally we wouldn't have taken that wheat, but this is what we needed them to do. So they said, we called the agent up, and I don't know if it was, which county it was, the agent was in, because obviously from their location, there's a
Yeah,
few.
there's a few, yep.
But he goes, that person was able to very quickly get information out, and so the farmers knew that we can keep harvesting. We can move this crop, they're going to take it, and this is how they're gonna handle it, and that kind of, he goes, it's just remarkable. He goes, we do as much research as we do on our own and the programs that we have, this is a way that the extension is invaluable to us. And with our base being agriculture in this state as well as in this county, 1 of 7 jobs related to agriculture, I don't want us to ever see, we probably will, more regionalization than we already have in a lot of the service of to that industry, with, you know, Farm Service Agency, you know, any of the linkages of the loan side, the program side, everything they have there, soil and water, extension. I'd rather we be the ones that don't have to travel far. I hate to be, I'm really selfish. But I want to stay
That's
ahead,
good.
I want to
That's
stay
good.
ahead of the curve, and
Yes.
I'm not sure that we are, but I don't know that we're behind, but we got to look at this. And I just, like I said, I'm pretty passionate about it. And so I really liked what Cindy put together as ways to look at this and look at it and to, you know, there's gonna be a stop, and there's gonna be go left or we're gonna go right. we're gonna look at it, and we're gonna go, you know what, this is what it would be, and we can't do that, or this is what we would need, and we can't fund that, or
Yeah.
we think those needs are being met otherwise, or could be with this little tweak here or there.
So you're
So-
proposing that Extension run a needs assessment in these winter months,
Yes.
and then they would come back with a recommendation that we've located this need, and this need, and we can fill it by doing this, this, and this, is that?
Yeah, yeah. I've made several contacts already with some of those key type groups that were listed as examples. So I will be in touch with them, over the course of the winter months here to set up some meetings. We're looking first at just a not formal, informal sit-down type discussion, kind of like we're having here. Probably a real short question, 5-10 question survey type thing to compile some of the broad picture type needs and ideas that they would like to see, and then from hopefully compile that into, I'll say, 10 key areas, maybe fewer, maybe more, just kind of depends. And then from that, we'll try to pick maybe half or 3/4 or something of those, big ideas, and then focus on and send out another type survey to maybe more of the general public or more of the audience that are key audience that we're looking for, and then take the results of those surveys and get it compiled so we can look at 3, 4, however many smaller things that we can focus on and say, yes, Seneca County has a need for a agronomist. Wyandotte County may have a need for a horticulturalist. So between the two, let's try and focus our job search. Let's talk to the university on somebody that has somewhat of a background or some strengths in those two areas, so we can combine and then go from there.
And you're looking at flat funding in your budget for this year?
For this
For
year,
this cycle, and then weigh this out?
yeah, weigh this out and
Yeah,
potentially ask for additional funding then to fund this position for 2016.
and she outlined this, I know you didn't see it until I handed it to you just now, but she outlined this, as you read down further in it, to, these will be done independently to the two counties, but then merged if the
Merged, yes.
likeliness is there, the similarities, to do that. So that nobody's needs get lost over the others, that kind of a thing. And to see, because that's the way you best know if there is a match in a shared situation would work. Or if not, if the needs are too great one way or the other or something like that. So, like I said, I think there's just a lot of good possibilities there, and I appreciate that. Any other
No.
question? With the, separate from the ag thing, back to 4-H for you, Jason.
Sure.
With the car teens program and stuff, do you work with Judge Meyer on that? Is that how, or is that just with the schools and education, and it's not a reactive to someone who's in the system?
No, I've not had the pleasure to meet Judge Meyer yet.
Okay.
I would like to. That's again on the list of people to meet and talk with.
Yeah.
But how that works is any first time juvenile traffic offender that was caught here in Seneca County then goes before Judge Meyer. They then can choose, and most of the times do, sentence the offender to attend a car teens program. We hold those once a month on the third Monday. We just had one last night. Except for the month of July because of Fair Falls that time. So that person then comes in. They can bring their parent or guardian if they want to. They don't have to. It's a 2-hour program. We go through different lessons, everything from a Jeopardy type game, going over Ohio traffic laws. We have some of the I call them the drunk goggles, impaired vision goggles. We'll have the kids wear those and try and practice walking a line, playing catch the ball to show them how difficult that can be if you are, impaired. We talk about speeding, stopping distance. We have 3 ropes that we have the kids first take a guess as to if you're going simply 35 miles an hour, how long would how far would you travel in 2 seconds? you know, and then we, you know, walk the rope out. How, you know, if you're traveling 55 miles an hour, 45, you know, and it's, the rope represents that distance that it is. And a lot of times the kids, I guess, obviously either very small or very large, when they can actually see that rope stretched out,
Sure.
it makes them realize, oh, you know, that's quite, you know, quite different there. So, like we have a driving simulator that we can hook up to the laptop computer that we have that we use. They can practice their driving skills on that. So, and then they take a test at the end. We're fortunate we also work with the Sheriff's Department, and we have Deputy Chris Potter come to every meeting. Very, you know, very knowledgeable, takes his time, has lots of stories obviously to share with everybody. The kids ask questions and he's very straightforward with the answers as to when he will stop you, when he might let you off with a warning, you know, things like that. And then it is a cost recovery program, so we charge the court then $35 for every first-time traffic offender that we get and attends the program. Then the court will, you know, pay the extension account that, you know, that amount. Anybody that does not come, we simply turn the names back over to the judge, and it's up to his discretion as to if they get resentenced or, you know, whatever the case may be.
Now, does the court have some results of that program to know if there's been repeat offenders after they've been through the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we fill out a survey on them. So we have the kids fill out a survey. We send the survey and their test results to the court so they can kind of, you know, look things over. Plus they have, you know, us and them have a record of everybody's attended. So we see if somebody's been through again, you know. Fortunately to date, since I started here in the end of March and, you know, in the 8 months I've been here, we've only had one repeat offender. So, and that was because they were actually, first time around, they were sentenced up in Sandusky County. So they went to Sandusky County's program and then got caught again down here in Seneca County, so they come through our program. So, I mean, we'll call them a repeat offender, but for, you know, for our sake, it was only first time coming through. But they admitted they had been up to Sandusky County. This program is growing. I've had lots of requests for, I'll say, private citizens and their kids who come in. The talking with the post commander of the Highway Patrol from the Fremont station, he suggested that I reach out to some of the driving schools, because I guess the driving schools are constantly asking the Highway Patrol to come in to give a presentation, you know, guest speakers, things like that, and they just don't have the manpower. And so they like that our program is very much a hands-on type approach. You know, we get the kids up, we get them moving, we keep them interested. We don't have them sit there and lecture them for the entire 2 hours.
Right.
So Highway Patrol suggested that we reach out to the driving schools here in Seneca County and offer our services to come in, you know, for a presentation or to teach a lesson or something like that. So I'm going to look at doing that. And then probably starting January, opening the classes up to anybody that would like to attend. Not necessarily that you have to be sentenced, you know, from the court. You can just come as a refresher, we'll say. If, you know, mom or dad or somebody would like to send their young driver to the program as a refresher. So.
Good. I just thought you know, I was somewhat familiar with it, but not of all the details, but how that is a need that's obviously out there, and
Yes.
because of the way it's
Yes.
being utilized, and
Yep.
it's very much not the traditional 4-H youth
4-H,
development program that we're seeing out of Extension, and I wasn't sure how many people were familiar with that, and like I said, I didn't know the details either. Anything else you want to share? Any questions for Jason on
Yeah.
anything else?
Freddie showed up here. Just there's the 2013 county highlights that are with the pictures at the top, and then just some highlights from 2014 on the other page with the letterhead, and then I included our annual report from last year, just for your information. And after January here, we'll have the 2014 annual report that I can bring in for the next time.
Good.
Thank you.
Just cut to the chase, you're not asking for any more money, but I
Cut
didn't
to the
miss- I
chase,
didn't
no,
miss
not
that.
asking for any more money.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, good. I didn't miss anything that,
You missed the important part of this, but you can watch the tape.
okay. yeah.
But they are going to, and it's something I had been looking at for a while, but they are going to conduct a needs assessment in the beginning, in these winter months, January, February, and March, and looking at, you know, future needs that might exist in Seneca County, and are those needs that Extension can fulfill if we had an ag educator and/or shared one with Wyandotte County, and I shared this with Wyandotte County yesterday, so that's the brief synopsis of what we've been.
No,
Okay, well, thank you very
Okay.
much for coming in.
thank you.
Appreciate it, and I'm sure we'll be in touch, and as you guys move towards
Yeah.
rolling that out and that kind of thing, I'll be very interested in stay on top of it. We're just continuing a work session before we go into our formal session at 10 o'clock. So for this work session, is there anything else that we've got the museum down scheduled at 10 o'clock. Once we call to order and do a couple very minor housekeeping things, we'll go into the museum discussion. Anything else for the go to the order work session? This is almost very reactive, but we did kind of talk about bringing it up about 2 weeks ago, was a review of our weather policy. And since January arrived, and we weren't counting on January, weather is weather, but I think we'll just, I asked Stacy, touch base with Sheriff Huckleberry and reiterate the fact, just to, make sure all the departments revisit what the weather policies are and what happens if and when we're at a point of having to shut anything down and those kinds of things, just so everybody's in sync with that. And
Good, yeah.
so I thought we would do it before the snow flew, but we missed that, but yeah, thought that counts. So that we can.
We talked about it.
We did. And weather been with me, so that's all right. That's all right. And then we're gonna stall out here because we formally are advertised to be beginning at 10 o'clock, so we will do that because we won't want anybody to miss any of the discussions and from our advertised start time.